Today with Hank Fassay, an elephant in the press room. So many rumors here at the paper. The bull elephant in the room says the Tri-Cities Daily News Herald is giving up the economic ghost of a printed version of our great triple metropolitan newspaper. When such a business move is made, the only way you'll be reading my column and everything else you now hold in your hands is on one of your many digital devices, your phone maybe, or a watch that needs recharging every night. Such is progress, but it makes me think of Al Simmons, a rewrite man at the old Associated Press. My career at the AP lasted close to 4 years, but I would have been quickly pink-slipped were it not for Al Simmons, who took the choppy prose and school kid syntax from my reporter's notebook and turned those scribbles into bona fide news copy. Al is long gone, bless his heart, so he never saw the advent of reading a newspaper on a laptop or pad. He passed away before the idea was any more real than the Starship Enterprise. Not sure the man even had a TV, as he complained that nothing good was on the radio since Fred Allen went off the air. This story is now carbon dating me. Al's typewriter was a Continental, a beast nearly the size of an easy chair, bolted to his desk. Not because anyone would try to steal the thing, you'd have been foolish to have tried to lift it. Al's desk was a small, narrow altar of editing. He would bang out his version of my copy, leaner, crisper, better, dang it. Then flip up the typewriter on hinges, and on the cleared space go at his own stuff with a blue pencil. The man made quite a racket doing his job a few hundred times a shift. The chonka-chonka of his typing, and then the ba-ding of the bell and the crank of the carriage return, the shrep of the copy from the machine, and the kabunk of his tossing back of the massive tool of his trade to scribble away with an even more primitive mode of writing. Al was at one with that typing machine and was never more than a yard away from it and his desk. He sent me out for coffee and food on many occasions, but when I came back with the delivery, he'd be hacking away at some copy and I'd have to set the food on a nearby stool until he flipped up the Continental and made room for his lunch. If Al Simmons sounds like a stereotype, a cartoon version of a newsroom denizen, he was in every way but one. He didn't smoke and hated all the dopes at the AP who did. Quiet, reporters working would be a superfluous sign here at the Daily News Herald these days. We've been on computers since the 80s. Though the first generations of them were called word processors. That was what we called ourselves. The point being, Al Simmons would not be able to fathom how we have been reading our newspapers in ever greater numbers over the past 5 years, bent over our handheld miracle machines. 2, he'd not recognize how we put out the newspaper for the last 3 decades. Where's the roar and fury of a newspaper going to press? He'd holler at me. In Al's honor, here's an experiment. If you are reading this on your phone, I'll write some of it on mine, my edited, proofread stream of consciousness. I'm going to miss reading a physical copy of the paper on newsprint, delivered to my front lawn 7 days a week by a fellow named Brad, who scoots by in a car, chucking my copy out the window with but the smallest of deceleration. Or from the copy I read at the Pearl Avenue Cafe on Pearl Avenue a few days a week. I'll miss the sensation of a story placed above the fold on page 1 and the shame of a story being relegated to page B6. I admit I get a kick out of seeing my face and my byline, my column, on the back page, so easy to find. And did you know a reading of the column and the timing of a soft-boiled egg are a perfect match? If, when the Tri-Cities Daily News Herald goes all digital, no print, this reporter will be sad, resigned, at the advent of this thing we call reality. And Al Simmons, in Rewrite Heaven, will scratch his head in confusion, his typewriter flipped up forever. Now, an auto-corrected version, pinched out on my phone. I'm going to miss reading a physical copy of the paper on newsprint, delivered to my front lawn 7 days a week, be a fellow named Bark who scores you via cat. Chai hubs my cope in the window, Eugene the Shanked, the Dr. Versicherungsgericht, or FYI. The color I eat at the Peak Avibura Cadge on Zoe Skratfanud a few days a week. I'll miss the sensation of a dying place, Abu D to gold page 1, and the shame, oif of duties, relegate to OFSSH 6. I admit I got a kick out of this seeing my FXE and my Belai, my Viking, on Gauge back page. So easy to find. And did you know a reading of the volume and the timing of a foot-hooked egg is a perfect match? If when the Tri-City Savaki need heard highs all digital, thus router will be sad resigned at the advent of hugs, Gajing called result, and Al Simmons in Rewrite will scratch his head in confusion, host Toyilo Totorier flipped up forever. Gotta run now and get my copy down to the press room.